Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast about what's going on in the South Florida real estate market. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, my co-host, the real estate advisor over at Compass Real Estate, no one else but Daniel Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez, the last show effectively of the winter buying season. Then we go into summer, heat, humidity, and hurricane warnings.
I live for this, Peter. People hate the summer season. I like the sweat dripping down my back like Niagara. That's how I like it. I like it hot. I like it sticky. I like it when my sunglasses fog up when I walk outside of my house. You know the kind of heat I'm talking about, right? Unfortunately for
Absolutely. Although
condos,
summer's bad for my hair, though. That's the only issue I have. May through October.
well, the moisture keeps me cool. It's an evolution thing. It's an evolution thing. Well, hey, folks, Peter, we have a guest today. You can't see him yet. He's a mystery man for now. But I got a little thing, a little 1-2 to say about him, and then maybe you can guess who he is. Maybe you already know who he is. Peter already knows who he is. But then we're gonna bring him on, and we're gonna have a great show today. So when the Allied troops invaded Normandy, our guest, just a wee man at that point, was probably learning how to ride a bicycle, or maybe he was a late bloomer like me and didn't ditch the training wheels until he was like 10. Our guest is a Miami institution. Born in an Orange Grove barn in DeLand, Florida, back in June 1940 to Margaret farm worker parents. He worked the fields himself as a kid before a principal pushed him to sit for a Ford Foundation early admissions exam. That got him into Morehouse College, where he graduated class of 61. He served as a naval officer, earned his doctorate, and then in 1972 started a 34-year career at FIU, where he eventually chaired the psychology department until retiring in 2006 as a professor emeritus. But the credentials are just the scaffolding of what our guest is. And that's just a pun because this is a real estate show. What our guest actually is Miami's preeminent chronicler of Black Florida. He wrote Black Miami in the 20th Century, considered the definitive work on the subject, A History of Florida Through Black Eyes, The Beast in Florida, and co-authored the Miami Riot of 1980, Crossing the Bounds. His personal archive holds over 4,000 photographs of Black Florida history, and those are now housed at FIU. After the McDuffie riots, he founded a high school that was later renamed in his honor. In 1996, he founded the Roots in the City, turning Overtown's abandoned lots into working urban farms. And then now, at the supple age of 85, he's suing the President of the United States over a parking lot, which brings us to today. How's that for an intro, Peter? You know who he is?
Wow. I am speechless. I am never speechless. I'm speechless.
You're speechless? Do you have a guess? Do you have maybe an idea? All right, I'll tell
Well,
everybody. It's none other than Dr. Professor Marvin Dunn. Let's bring him on, Peter. So either it took me a year to figure out the sound effects, or there's actually a crowd of people sitting in the other room cheering you on. Whatever's the truth, Doc, welcome. Thank you for the time. How the hell are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, this is going to be such a blast. I want to I introduced you, but for everybody watching the show for the first time, and Dr. Dunn, I assume you've never watched the show before. So in the bottom left of your screen, that's what the rundown is. And here on Buy, Sell, Hold, Peter and I throw some stories back and forth to each other throughout the week, and then we settle on these topics. And then we discuss the topics for 7, 10, 12 minutes, but we're here for an hour. And then at the end of each topic, we're either going to buy because we agree, we're going to sell because we disagree, or we're going to hold and eat our popcorn because we're adults and we don't know. And that's a choice that we can make. So I want to jump right into it. And anybody who's been watching the show is it's no surprise to them. They know who you are. What is going on with the Trump Library, Doc? When life gives you surface parking, build a condo tower. What do you say to that?
It is an incredible steal of land from future generations of Miami-Dade College students. This land is incredibly valuable to that college. And when I found out that the Miami-Dade College Board of Trustees was giving that land to the state of Florida for the Trump Library, uh, I was incensed. My first notion was that how could this be? How could you take land that's going to our kids' future and just give it away for a blatant political purpose? And I have been, and I remain outraged about this. I filed a lawsuit to challenge the board of trustees for having done this in the dark. Uh, a judge agreed to stop it temporarily, to make them redo this giveaway of the land. They met the legal requirements of the court, and so the land was given to the state of Florida. And then DeSantis and the state cabinet gave it to the Trump Library Foundation for $10. This is property that's currently worth, I don't know, you guys know more than I, hundreds of millions of dollars. And the state of Florida,
368 million,
that,
doctor. 368 million if they put up condos on that site and they carve out a little space for a little library.
okay. If it was going to be a library, that would still be an outrage. But this is not going to be a library. The president himself has said, I don't build libraries. I build hotels. We have him on the record saying that. So this is going to be a luxury hotel with a little corner set aside someplace for a library to just get past the requirements of the law for a presidential library. But it's a rape of the community, just a disgrace. And I have lived here since I was 11 years old. And I may be a Southerner, I may be, not up to speed with what New Yorkers do and how fast they do it. But we don't go for this. This is taken away from our kids. So I'm going on, but my outrage is relentless at this point. I'm determined to stop it. So even though the judge allowed this to proceed, I am now involved in filing another lawsuit. This one will be in federal court. In fact, I just got off the phone with my attorneys a little while ago. We're going to file a constitutional challenge to the president for a violation
Wow.
of the emoluments clause of the Constitution. That lawsuit is being prepared by one of the best law firms here in Miami. And we also have a team working with us in Washington, D.C. To challenge this. We have a number of enrolled Miami-Dade College students as plaintiffs and others in the community who have relevant needs to be seen as plaintiffs, and we will be filing this lawsuit. I thought we might be doing it next week, but it may now be another week or two before we file.
So, Professor, let me ask you something. You're clearly upset. We're all upset about it because ultimately, on buy, sell, hold, left, right, up, down, whatever the political ideology is, we frame it as it's a bad real estate deal for the college. $10 for that lot, even at the property appraiser's very low value of $67 million. They didn't get any money for this. So yes, this is, and I'm using your words, an underhanded, behind the scenes scheme. But what you've seen so much in your life, Professor, and what caused you to sue instead of just, I don't know, making a podcast episode about it? Like, what drove you over the edge?
You really want to know? My mom,
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
my
your
mother,
mom.
my mother and my dad, but my mom has especially taught me don't take shit from anybody. When you see something wrong, stand up. Even if you lose, if you get knocked down, get back up. So I guess I came out of a family where insult meant respond and fight. So I should also add that my mother was also a very Christian woman, believing very strong in morals and not in damaging kids. And she was also a strong believer in education. That's how she got her five sons where we are today. So I come out of a family of people who believe in education and who believe in standing up and fighting back when you see something wrong.
That, you know what? anytime anybody asks me why I do something, I'm gonna take a page out of your book, Professor. I'm just gonna say it's because of my mom. That's a
I
very
was
good
raised here.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, you got a good heart, sir. I wanna go
thank you.
back to something interesting, Peter. Peter or Doc, you guys familiar with SB 118? It was a bill that passed in up in Tallahassee back in the beginning of 2025. You
Which one
guys
is
ever heard of
that?
this? So, and it's
What's the
sorted
name of
through
it?
the SB 118. I just got the number here, but the core provision. And this is why this is
Yeah.
interesting because it goes back to the whole timing of this all. The core provision of this whole thing was it bars local governments in Florida from interfering with or blocking the construction of a presidential library, meaning no
Oh,
zoning
yes.
fights, no
Yes.
municipal review delays, no
Yes.
city council.
Yeah.
So it's something that Peter and I talk about a lot on the show, and it's the preempting local zoning. So you have the Live Local Act, which allows developers to go in
Yeah.
and build higher. You have all of these Tallahassee rules coming down to local governments. So effectively, what this bill does is that it keeps our hands tied, and I'm sure your legal team for your lawsuit, they said, well, we can certainly sue on plenty of grounds, but it can't be something that was covered under this bill. And the timing is just very curious to me because, so they've been considering this for quite some time now, it appears.
DeSantis did this in order to prevent opposition in a blue county to this presidential library. He tried to preempt Dade County in particular, government officials from raising questions about this particular presidential library. So that bill was a preemptive strike to keep local government away from hindering the grand plan for the presidential library.
Ah. Peter, you've been a little quiet over there. What do you got to say about all this? You're all for it, right? You love libraries.
Listen, this is the guy. This is the question I have for the professor. Professor, they go ahead and they pass this thing. It's on the agenda. This is I'm talking about the Miami-Dade college trustees. They pass this. They have it as a real estate agenda, real generic kind of, typical like petty cash. Let's just kind of see what we got.
Right.
We'll
That's how it
work out
came
some of the
in.
deals. They go ahead, they pass it. You go ahead, you file suit. So they said, you know what? In anticipation of going to court, let's go ahead and do another vote. This time, we're going to hold it at 8 a.m. and let's go out to Hialeah. The president's
Exactly.
office in Miami-Dade College is located at the Wolfson campus, which is across the street from the Trump Presidential Library. Dr. Dunn, A, why they do it in Hialeah, and B, did you get there on time at 8 a.m. going against
I
the
got
traffic?
I,
I don't know where you live,
I
but I'm
got
sure
that
it was a
early.
lot of traffic.
They did it to make sure there was a lot of traffic, but I left at 6:30 in the morning. I got there
Good
early.
man.
They wanted to keep people away from this meeting. As it turned out, there was a very big crowd there. And yes, indeed, you know what? It was a very strange meeting. They called the meeting to order. They allowed anyone who had asked to speak 3 minutes to speak. I took my 3 minutes, as did a lot of other people, most of whom spoke against the library. Uh, then they gave anyone else who was not on the list but was present a chance to speak. A couple of folks spoke, and then one or two of the board members made very short statements, and then they voted. There was not one word of response to anything that any of us said. It was as if, again, the minds were made up. They just did the pro forma meeting. Nobody had any discussion among themselves. Bam, vote, and we met the letter of the law, and so they moved ahead.
It was unanimous, right? It was unanimous, right?
It was unanimous, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. See, I wondered in the first place, in that first meeting, how could they have done this the first time without discussion among themselves? Unanimous, there was no discussion. How could that have happened without people talking about it beforehand?
No,
So that's
nobody
why that
asked. Nobody
first
asked.
time,
Hey, so okay, what are they going to pay for this?
well, here. Let me tell you what I think happened. I think Miami-Dade College wanted something back. They're not stupid. I think that board of trustees and the president of the college wanted something for the college. I think DeSantis did an end around the board and an end around the process and just said, "I'll give it to you for nothing." He did that to please Trump when the college was trying to get something back for that land. DeSantis he cut it all out. Just said, "Here, you got it." Now, why would he have done that? Why would he have denied Miami-Dade College any kind of future income from what was going to happen on that property? Personal greed is all I can read of it. But that's why it happened.
Worthless or done.
And at
Worthless or
first,
done.
my anger wasn't to Miami-Dade Board of Trustees, but I'm really going beyond that to say that this was a scheme that the governor had
Well, what does the
planned
government
all.
have over the trustees of Miami-Dade College when they have a duty to the students in the community to better that?
The
I mean,
argument is that
are
the argument is that the land belongs to the state. Therefore, the state determines what happens to it. That the college has no control over it. The state says, the governor says, do this with the
but
land. They have to do it. No opposition. I don't think
Eduardo,
that's correct.
Dr. Eduardo Padron, a fellow doctor, he purchased that land for the college, did he not?
Yes, Eduardo was yes, he was a major figure involved in the acquisition of that land. Correct. Yes,
Huh. That seems curious. So, if I'm hearing this correctly, DeSantis did a reach around. No, not like that, Peter. DeSantis did a reach around and then just swept this piece of land out from under the college unanimously,
that's correct.
and
That's
then
correct.
conveys that land for a measly $10, which I don't think you can get a coffee in Coconut Grove for $10 these days, and gave this land to the Trump Library Foundation.
Exactly. The Speaker of the House was working with Witkoff and someone else to make the determination about where the library is going to go. And because of tensions between the governor and the speaker, it seemed the speaker was getting ahead of the game and dealing with the president on the library. That's why DeSantis went around and just took it over. Competition with
Guys,
the speaker. That's what
and
I think.
Peter, I want to hear from you, and maybe you can teach Dr. Dunn and I something. So
Oh,
what
come
can
on.
be
Yeah, yeah. What do you mean? Teach
what
Dr. Dunn something.
what can be built here, Pete?
All right, so a couple different ways to do it. And generally speaking, what happens is the highest and best use is a condo. Why is it a condo? Because you're in, you're out, you're maybe 7 years unless you get jammed up on some sort of, construction cost overruns or changes, whatever. Typically 5 to 7 years. They look at a 50% profit margin. So if you walk into a building and they tell you it's 2 million a door, generally speaking, they're putting 1 million in their pocket. Okay, generally speaking. Now, when you hit it at various stages of the cycle, you might only get $300,000 on a $1 million property. So, what does all this mean? Well, what it means is when you figure out land costs, it's pretty simple. And all these developers try to do the cha 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 around us because they don't want people to know. This is the secret sauce. This is why they get so annoyed when I come out and I say this stuff. What you do is let's say it's $1 million a unit. You take a 30% profit market, you carve it out. You take $700,000 left of that million, you allocate 10 to 20% of that overall cost to land. That's what you do it. So when the Trump Presidential Library, and I don't care about the politics. I'm a registered independent, always been a registered independent. I vote for the person. This is not a political thing because I know everybody's going to be barking about this. What it is you got $700,000 on my scenario. If you put allocated $10,000, excuse me, 10% for land, it'd be 70 grand for is what you can pay for the unit count for land. If you go 20%, because this site allows you to build with no parking. 2,500 units can go here with no parking. If you build parking, you get 1.5 parking spaces per unit. A parking space in a high rise costs $40,000 per space. And what does that mean? Does that mean you as a developer are going to sell for less? No, you're going to put more money in your pocket. This is the dream. This is the nirvana of a condo developer because you don't have to build parking because you're so close to the all of the public transportation. This is an
You don't have
absolute
to build
sweetheart
parking
deal.
because you have all the public transit around you. The little public
You got the
transit we
Metro
have, it's
Mover,
all around there.
Metro Rail, the trolleys, all that type of stuff. This is an absolute dream deal. So then when you pencil out, you say, okay, what can these condos sell for? You put 20 to 25% above what the market is. That's what it is. This is all just real simple math. So when they take it in different directions, they're doing the old cha cha cha, and that's all it is. This is expensive dirt. And if the college wants to sell it, I'm all good for that. But I want them to use the cash like the Ivy League schools use, and they get their endowments. Dr. Padron, I would suggest from
Exactly.
outside, I don't know him, he was setting up basically the endowment for Miami-Dade College. 54% of Miami-Dade County is foreign born. People come here. They want to get into the system. They might not know the language. Maybe the world's changing because of AI and you need to get retrained. Where do you go? You go to Miami-Dade College. You can drop $2,000 or something a semester rather than University of Miami, which is probably going to cost you 35 grand. This is a jewel for the community, doctor, and I applaud you for stepping up and fighting a good fight. And I'm extremely impressed that you got the Hialeah at 8 a.m. for a secondary meeting. So that's where you get deserved kudos.
Well, see, another thing that bothers me about this is that where's the money for what I think is going into this library is coming from foreign investors. I think particularly from the Middle East. You got Alex Woodcock over there right now begging up money from three or four of the princes in that area. Uh, 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 Pete Woodcock's son doing the same thing.
Is that
So.
the one who got
Uh,
arrested, doctor? Are we
I'm
talking about the
sorry,
one who got
I'm
arrested
sorry,
outside
I'm
11?
Oh, you're
sorry,
talking about the 11 video of
The
him
11
getting
video?
arrested from the body cam. Oh, that's not a good look.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry. That's a different one.
Yes, it is. But anyway, my point is that the sons of these two, Trump and Woodcock, are over there getting money from foreign interests, and I think a lot of that's being planned for investment in that library and other developments downtown.
Well, curious to that you would say that because the Witkoffs actually have a lot. You're probably familiar with it. The Miami Arena, it only stood up for about a decade, which is crazy. It's probably the fastest ground up development, tear down development ever in history. But the
Yeah,
Miami Arena site, which is like 4 blocks west of this, 4.7 ish acres, Wickoff and Co. took it down for 94 million in 2021. Peter.
yeah.
Yeah, 94 in July of 2021, according to Miami-Dade County records.
Okay, so I want to buy, sell, hold on when life gives you surface parking, you build condos. Peter,
Yeah.
But
I
Woodcock
worded, I
owns more
worded.
land down there as well. He owns other land in that area as well. That Miami
I,
World Center belongs to him. And they've got land right up on the front door of the current arena, the current Miami Arena. So they're all around that presidential library. That land has been, I think, put in the hands of the same group, Woodcock and maybe a couple of others.
I'm going to bring it up so the gang knows what we're talking about. So this is where the site is. This red little square. No political ideology there. I just picked red. But that's the 2.5 acre Trump library site that we're talking about. And then, as Peter points out on the show all the time, Doc, when you see surface parking, get the cars out of there. What is it, Peter? It is a
Future condo development site. If you see surface parking or you see grass, that is a future condo development site in the city of Miami and all of South Florida.
and that's what Miami Central Business District has been. Well, probably since Dr. Dunn got here, is surface parking. When everybody was driving those big Cadillacs, now everybody's got littler cars. But you know, these surface parking lots effectively are future sites of condominiums. And so you got the Trump Library site here. Dr. Dunn, you asked me who owned this the other day, and I asked Peter because he's got the encyclopedic knowledge. It's a group that owns a lot of
Yes,
stuff. They're called the Chateau Group. And so they have these two parcels opposite of the presidential library, proposed presidential library site. And then you can see all up and down Biscayne, this is the first row, right? Because any unit in these buildings, you don't have to be on the 40th floor to see the bay. Nobody's building anything in front of you here. You got Bayside, you got the park, you got the museum park. And it's as we start moving west is when, you want to get into these higher density spots. So Pete, I want you to buy, sell, hold because we gotta be honest with time here. When surface parking, when life gives you surface parking, you build condos. I'm not
On
saying
that
you're pro presidential library. I'm just saying you're pro on the statement.
on that statement, I'm a pound the table, flip it over. Yes, buy on that because that's the highest and best use.
Doc, Are you a buy, sell, hold? I framed it. I framed it in a
Oh,
way just to look at it from a real estate perspective. No matter what, no matter who it is or who's behind it, we're just trying to make the argument that the highest and best use for a surface parking lot is indeed a condo. It does. Forget about this lot. It could be any lot. I didn't get that, Doc.
Don,
Oh, he's a buy. He's a buy on surface
if
parking for
that's the best
condos.
use,
It is.
if that's the question, I'm applying that generally, not to this particular instance, but if generally that gives the best income, then yeah, I would buy, but I wouldn't buy to
Well,
displace college students.
oh no. That's not what we're discussing here. We would never. Nobody would ever want that. But I want to ask you something. So, Doc and Peter, when a presidential library site, if a presidential library would go up here, are there benefits to the surrounding lots? What does that look like? And it's curious, bringing us in to our next topic: a downtown valuation bump and a pleasant coincidence, perhaps. Because we were just talking about Mr. Witkoff, who's got this green site over here on the left, the former Miami Arena site. Would would it be logical to say that the value of this site will rise if a presidential
Yes,
library is built directly to the east of it?
yes, absolutely.
I can,
Peter, you did some
Daniel,
background on this.
yeah, I can give you real-time information. If you take a look at the South Florida condo market today, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, we created a series of indices. We are tracking market over market over market from Coconut Grove and Coral Gables all the way up to West Palm Beach and Palm Beach Island. The best performing condo market in all the land, besides Coconut Grove, is going to be West Palm Beach. We are seeing a
Oh,
Mar-a-Lago effect in West Palm Beach, where what's happening is people are coming in because President Trump spends his weekends at Mar-a-Lago. Most weekends, people are buying up condos all in and around there to be around the power structure. We also have an initiative by Stephen Ross, the guy who owns the Dolphins. Mr. Ross, hopefully you guys made some good picks this year because last few years not so good. But what West Palm Beach condo market's on fire. People are moving in. They're buying these condos. Vanderbilt University is getting ready to come in here, roll on in, set up a campus because of what we would argue is the Mar-a-Lago effect. It's been dramatic. It's been huge. And I asked a rhetorical question. If you got a Trump airport and you got a Trump road going to Mar-a-Lago, what is the library doing in Miami-Dade County? Why couldn't you make a threefer? Have somebody fly into Palm Beach County at the airport, drive on the Trump road, and ultimately go to the library before you go to Mar-a-Lago. I don't understand the disconnect. Am I missing something, Doctor? And you probably would have gave me a C in class if I would have taken
But,
one of your classes.
but well, if Woodcock would not have made money had it been in Mar-a-Lago.
ah. So was he on? He came down here. There are recorded instances of him coming down here with Eric Trump, Trump's son, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump's son,
That's right.
coming down here as early 2025 on a voyage to find a library site. So
Yes.
if I owned if I paid $94 million, some odd dollars for a 4 or 5 acre site in downtown Miami, I would think it's in my best interest to say, hey, Eric, I suggest we put the Trump library over here.
It was never going to be at Mar-a-Lago. It was never going to be at FAU or at FIU. It was always going to be downtown where Woodcock owns land. There was always a plan for that presidential library, downtown Miami, for the reasons that we were discussing. And it was never going to be really a library. It was going to be condos. Now they're saying apartments, but it's going to be condos.
So Peter, I took a look at the Witkoff website, and it says that their plan is to put 700 and something rental units on this 4.5 acre site. That seems a tad under ambitious for a site of that size.
Well, I should tell you, during the Great Recession, I was working. I was a journalist. I gave up journalism. I went, and then I was working on the buy side. We were using big data to track stuff, and we got a lot of attention. We work with institutional money, Wall Street types, if you will. And that's when the Witkoffs first came to town. They came down in the late 2000s. They were pursuing distressed properties. I think I had conversations with one or two of them just along the way. Never ended up doing any business. They started to kind of dig in and kind of do their thing. So they've been on the ground here for a good 15 years, maybe 20 years, just generally speaking, just to kind of give you kind of context on it. Now, in terms of that site, let's just do some rough math. If you take that piece of dirt, that piece of property, which has a train around it, it's the FEC line, which would go to the port of Miami. Whoops, they hired a consultant. Consultant said, don't call it Port of Miami, call it Port Miami. So I
Not the
apologize.
Facebook.
Yeah, not that Facebook. So if you take a look at that site, you're looking at 4.87 acres, coming in about 212,000 square feet. In terms of buildable, we're talking 500 units per acre. President Trump's library site is 1,000 units per acre. What do they have in common? Close to public transportation. Parking spaces cost
No
40
parking.
grand a spot. This site, no parking requirement. This is a beautiful site. They can put up 2,436 condos. And then if you factor in what
Whoa.
parking they could have put, they would have been required ballpark. Everything is different. 3,600 parking spaces. Cost of those 3,600 parking spaces at 40 grand, you're looking at over $100 million just in the parking. So you can see these are big numbers. These are
Wow.
strategic sites. That's probably why the city of Miami and the county, when they built the site for what would become the Miami Arena and the Miami Heat and the Panthers, before they kind of went their separate ways. So, there's a lot of stuff involved there. And remember, too, everybody, this site at one point was proposed to be the Miami Marlins site when they were searching for a location. They also talked about putting in a convention center here. Why? Because you got access to the Bright Line. You got access to the Tri-Rail. You got access to the Metro Rail. So there's a lot of stuff going all in and around here. And if you want to bolster your properties, you bring in a marquee destination. And that's probably what the Trump Presidential Library would serve as. I just don't know. Why did they put the library on that site?
Because you got waterfront views over there on Biscayne. No?
Yeah,
I
but
think I think that freedom. I think the Freedom Tower has something to do with it as well.
Oh, you think
I think
there's like
I think
a poke in the bear?
you're trying to marry Trump's image as president and all of his greatness with immigrants coming into Cuba and saving them. Just sort of trying to give majesty to Trump and his presidency by putting it next to that very symbolic um, structure to the Cuban American community. So I think it was an attempt to give Trump a glow that he doesn't deserve.
Interesting.
and
So
Also,
maybe
remember
not
the
just
state of
about money.
Florida. Well, they put $23 million into bringing that tower, the Freedom Tower, back up to standard, so that it's now a gorgeous building. The state of Florida, DeSantis, did that, and now with the president's library next to it, I think there's a sense that that somehow or another enhances Trump's reputation as president, particularly with Cuban Americans.
Well, he's certainly got a fantastic reputation amongst Cuban Americans here. If you've ever been to Versailles before, they love him there. So I don't think he's got a terrible problem with that. But hey, I guess he can keep on going up.
But see, even Cuban Americans that I've talked to, and those indicated in a poll about this issue, did not want that land given away for free. Most Cuban Americans, most people who have been asked about this in Dade County have said they do not. 74% of those polled have said they did not
Wow.
want that land given away, including 59% of Republicans have said, library aside, the land should not have been given away. That seems to be the real rub with the public.
So,
Politics
hey,
aside, even if Obama had done this, I'd be very upset about it. It should not be
of
given away.
of course, because it's a bad real estate deal. Look, if here's a pointed question. Sorry to put you in the hot seat, Doc, but if the Trump Library Foundation tomorrow came out and said, "Hey, you know what? $10 a bit low. We'll give you 300 million for it." Would we just walk away, go have lunch, and have a cheery old time?
If Miami-Dade College was going to be a continuous permanent co-earner of money coming in from that site. If they put condos on it or apartments on it that they rent or sell, and to give some portion of that to Miami-Dade College forever. That
There's a
makes
good
sense to me.
thought. A rev share agreement with the developer. We didn't think of that, Peter. That's a great idea.
Oh, wait, they thought about that
It's
in
a lot more fair
2016.
than throwing those change over at Miami College. Make them a partner in the
Make
earnings.
them. You,
Doctor,
Peter, you're
as
going
you
to say something.
remember, Doctor, as you remember 2016, there's a collector up in the Wynwood area. He approached the college. He said, you know what? Let's build a Latin American art museum. Let's put up some towers. We'll share in it. We'll make it happen. And then all of a sudden, all the other developers came out. They all sort of pursued the idea and ultimately got shelved. So, this is a concept that people thought about more than a decade ago. Everybody understands that the college could benefit. Although I guess Tallahassee doesn't. To me, it just there's something sort of missing. But one thing, Doctor, I would point out to you, if in fact the Trump Presidential Library were to go forward with it, just a couple points to keep in mind. What you see a lot of veteran developers do, they will joint venture. They'll throw in the dirt as their contribution, and they let other people fund and take on the risk. That's a very common technique that's used, especially in a market that's going a variety of different ways. And then the other thing I would sort of mention is, President Trump's son-in-law, he's finally broken into the development business out here. Right up the street, there used to be an Indian restaurant called Bengal Indian, right about 20th and 19th in Biscayne Boulevard, and they put up their first rental project. So they're starting to build it. So these are just some of the concept. I could envision something where everything is vertically integrated, where they're all sort of wetting their beak kind of along the way. Wouldn't it be great if Miami-Dade College somehow, some way didn't be able to wet its beak as well?
What I think that's just the most
I'm so
logical,
glad you put
rational
it that.
thing.
I'm so glad you put it that way. It doesn't make sense to be anti-development. Development's going to happen. At whose expense, and to what extent can development happen with some public benefit along with that development on a long-term basis. So I'm not anti-development, although I don't really like the way in which Miami is sort of sprung up so I think erratically, but at least have some fairness about it so that the community gets some benefit from what's going to happen in terms of your income from that development.
Doc, I'm pointing to you first. A downtown valuation bump and a pleasant coincidence? You buy, sell, or holding that? So, question is, Doc, do you think that it is a mere coincidence that Mr. Witkoff has this land here? Or
No.
maybe he's been listening to Peter Zalewski saying that the Central Business District is about to have a reckoning, and all of a sudden it looks like he
Yes.
spent a little too much for that Miami
Yes.
Arena site.
That's what I think.
I think so too. That makes me a buy. I think that makes you a buy. Peter,
I love numbers, Doctor. I love numbers. And let me give you some numbers right now in that central business district from the Miami River north to the MacArthur Causeway, from the Bay all the way to heck west to I 95. In that area, we got 10,000 units. You know how many are under construction right now, Doctor? Rhetorically, 5,000 additional units as we speak. There's a gentleman who built up a company called WeWork. He became a billionaire. It's called Adam Newman. He came to town. He said, you know what? I'm going to be a condo developer now. He bought two towers. He bought a piece of dirt. And you know what happened in his sales? He sold more than 58% of his building. Unfortunately, only 9% went to individuals. He's moving them in blocks to commercial buyers because the individuals aren't buying them. He's trying to get out of it. He's trying to cover whatever it's going to sort of be. So the Witkoff site, the old Miami Arena, is immediately across the street in the 6 to 7, 800 block of Miami Avenue. So if it were me and I was on a piece of dirt that I might be sitting on for quite some time, especially with the Club 11 project coming online with 1,000 units located in two towers on the same block, if it were me and I was trying to hedge my investment, I would probably try to bring in some kind of anchor that's going to generate a lot of publicity, a lot of pre-construction to
it's
change the
actually
vibe because
it's a great deal
How
for
about
right
the
him
now
presidential
because,
today,
library?
well, he doesn't even have to pay a licensing fee.
you have right now today in that little area 26 months of supply. What does that mean? That means if no additional units come on the market, it will take you more than 2 years to sell everything. It should be 6 months. We qualify this as a distressed buyer's market based on categories and rankings. And if you're wondering what's going on with pricing, year over year pricing between November of 25 to March of 26. So we're talking the first 5 months of the winter. Take it back to a year ago. Price per square foot is down 2%. Is 2% a big deal? No, but we are in a community where 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. We are the gateway of Latin America. The trees will grow to the moon. How do prices go down year over year by 2%? So, anybody looking at this from abroad or afar who's running the numbers would say he might have got jammed up on this deal and he's looking for a way to resuscitate it, is what I would say. I got nothing to do with Witkoff, nothing to do with the property, but I'm looking at the numbers, and that's what the numbers are bearing out, in my opinion.
So you're a buy.
I would be 100% buy. This could be the golden goose to ultimately jumpstart all kinds of real estate speculation. And the point I'm going to make is people push back. You got a guy called Ken Griffin just down the road. He's over
I
there in the
knew
Whipple
it.
Avenue area from Citadel. You know what he did? He went in. He says he's going to put up a tower eventually after all these delays and blown deadlines. Ken Billions, which is our nickname for him, he finally broke ground. And you know what's going? Land is it's spiking all in and around because of speculative moves.
Oh, it's
This
the
could tactically be
Mar-a-Lago
another.
effect, but around 10 billions.
Do not underestimate how, because remember, you buy on the rumor. If news is good, you're going in. If the news isn't so good, you're sitting back. Like guys like me looking to get deep discounts. They're trying to change the talking points. President Trump is very good at this. Mr. Witkoff, who I don't know, is probably very good at it. If you are a developer, you are a gunslinger at noon, and you have to go in where nobody else goes in. So you have to sell a story. You have to sell a dream. And this probably is part of selling the dream of Central Business District, which right now is probably running some real issues because of a supply overhang of 26 months.
So this is a great segue into our next rundown topic. The best covered land play. Wow. The best covered land play with crops. So maybe Mr. Witkoff should call Dr. Dunn over here. If he needs to cover his land a little bit, hey, maybe some paddle courts, some roach coaches. Those are food trucks in Peter's lexicon. Or you do what Dr. Dunn has done. Wow, it's Dunn has done. I like that. You do what Dr. Dunn has done, and he started this program. And Doc, I want you to tell us all about it. You're taking lots that are delinquent, defunct, just abandoned, and what are you doing with them?
Putting in growing food. For the
Wow.
last 20 years, I've been growing food on any. We started growing food along the expressway embankment. The only land I could do was just started putting in gardens. So over 20 years, I've been putting in temporary gardens because eventually the property gets developed all over town. And my dream, coming back to the Trump Library, was to have that land that they just gave away, those 2.6 acres of land, as an urban farm in downtown Miami that would serve Miami-Dade college students being trained in urban agriculture, urban farming, and a way of growing food that would be given away in Little Havana and Overtown and poor communities. That was my dream for those 2.6 acres of land. And I was working with Miami-Dade College towards that end over some years as they began putting in their own little tiny garden and talking about they sent students to me, to my garden, to my farm in Overtown. So we had a plan, at least I thought we did, to have a farm for Miami-Dade College students right near that Wilson campus, and the land that they gave away was ideal for an urban farm that would serve the college.
Wow.
Now we can't do that because Trump's going to have a hotel on the site.
Can you imagine? I mean, Peter, I know we
That's
were
part, that's
just
part of the that's part of the reason for the lawsuit that I'm in, the federal lawsuit. That's one of the reasons
can
that we're pursuing this. That they took away the opportunity for this to be an urban farm that could have fed to a great extent poor communities around and also train Miami-Dade college students in the urban farm area that's growing in this country, but not at Miami-Dade
highest
College.
highest and best use be damned. I want to walk back my former statement. I think that is the highest and best use for that piece. I mean, think about okay, let me zoom out a little bit. Think about it as an institutional investor coming in from outside. And yes, everybody wants to make a profit, but if you see a municipality, a county, a city that's able to take a lot like that a very valuable lot, or Miami-Dade College put a $10 price on it. Property appraiser says 67 million. Peter says 360 something million. But if you're able to take something like that as a community and then say, you know what? I think as a community, the highest and best use is an urban farm to educate our people. We have plenty of land. We got plenty of waterfront to build condos on, but we want to select this for this, and this is important to us because we
That's
are
what I
a
wanted to do.
community. That is, pardon my French, but really fucking cool.
Yeah, that was my dream. We have got to find ways to grow food in the cities. And developers who have land just sitting there, just holding on to it, let us farm it. The arrangement I have now, the land that we're using will probably be developed soon. So people just holding on the land, at least let the community use it for a few years as a place to grow food that would enhance the health of the community. So
So,
developers can assist with some of the problems we're experiencing in the inner cities by making their lands available, at least for temporary use.
so Doc, how many of these urban farms do you have spread out across town?
Uh, Across Miami-Dade and Broward counties, I have probably 7 or 8.
Wow. Hey Peter, you know what I think's a great site for an urban farm? What about the Genting site, the old Herald site?
But see, we wouldn't. But what we need is a permanent site. So when if we're allowed to plant on a site that's going to be developed, that's great for the 3 or 4 or 5 years we have it. But then that's not a permanent farm. A permanent site would have been the Miami-Dade College site that was given to Trump. That would have been a permanent a permanent farm. But that opportunity is lost.
But
Wow.
doctor, why do you have to grow vegetables if you have Instacart? I say that tongue in cheek. I say that tongue in
That's
cheek.
funny.
But here's the point I want to make, doctor. City of Miami Beach, they are pivoting. They're getting away from boozing and twerking on police cars, and they're going to what's called a blue zone. Blue zone, you're going to live forever, and they're all into health and fitness and all that type of stuff. Wouldn't that have been a natural as maybe the city of Miami adopts just like Miami Beach has done? That would have been a natural. You would have been, the
No,
market would
no,
have been
no,
coming
no.
to you.
We're short-term rental Airbnb, not wellness. Wellness is, oh wait, we got wellness on Miami
Have,
too.
have you have you seen my farm in Overtown? Have you seen it?
I would
It's the
love
most
to.
beautiful space. It's the most beautiful space in Overtown. The only place that has grass is on my farm. It's where the cops come for breaks, just to relax. It's a paradise in the core of Overtown. That's what that spot is. It's paradise, and we don't. And it's not fenced. No fence on purpose, so
I
people can
have
come
seen it.
in, sit, and enjoy the farm and the garden and go on about their business. And practically nothing gets stolen. People respect that site as a community. I don't know, beautiful spot for just using it for the purposes that we intend. So that needs to happen on a permanent basis in downtown Miami, and that was my dream for Miami-Dade College and me working together towards that end.
Do you find it, and I know nothing about agriculture. I kill all my plants. Thank God my wife has a green thumb. But is it easy to grow agriculture in an urban environment like that with the smog and the cars? Is that
Oh man, whoa, whoa. What do you think was here before people came? You could grow anything in South Florida. Are you kidding? I mean, just uh, you have everything you need to have beautiful agricultural uh, farms in South Florida. That's what we used to be. Uh, that, that's what that's how the indigenous people lived here. They grew what they needed. That's how the Seminoles survived. They came in, they put in farms, they grew what was needed. The reason the railroad came in was because farming could take place down here below the freeze line. So this area is ripe for agriculture. All the rest of it came later. The tourism, the development, all of that pushed agriculture out. But when my family moved to Miami in 1951, um, uh, there was virtually no development beyond 79th Street. It was just a lot of pasture land up there. Bob Graham's family owned a lot of dairy land up there. So agriculture is easy. I guess I'm answering your question a long way, but this place was meant for growing things. So
And
give me the land and I can grow rocks.
Professor, you just hit on the key point that I was going to get to. Is when I got here in '93, I used to see like cows on dirt in the middle of like industrial areas or right on the Big Bend on the Palmetto. Maybe there's a way, since Tallahassee likes to get involved in everything that's going on in the local government, maybe there's a way that all the fine leaners up in Tallahassee, they actually give you some sort of tax break like people used to get when they kept a number of cows on a site. Why not take some of these agricultural sites while the developers are sitting on it, especially if it's in a down market? Let them use some vegetables, let them use some agriculture, let them do some of that, give them a tax break. And now there's a reason for them to ultimately engage rather than right now being standoffish, putting against hoarding and cutting that area off and dividing the neighborhoods and the communities.
Well, believe it or not, the federal government, Department of Agriculture, is supporting urban farms. We're getting support from the federal government. They recognize the importance of urban farming. So it's not exactly an out of the ballpark idea. So things got sort of hung up with the usual budgetary shenanigans in Washington. But even our little urban farm, rural land that we have, is getting some support from the USDA. And if we had a permanent farm of the sort that we could have, if we had that land, we would have support. I shouldn't say we could have support from the federal government. The federal government has been more or less generous with farmers, and we are within the purview of farming. So they have been more or less supportive in keeping farming alive, including urban farming. So we get some support from the federal government. I think that would be continued if we had a permanent site such as the land that Miami-Dade College gave away.
I don't have the answer to this, doctor, but I want to ask you, does Miami-Dade College or any college or university in Miami-Dade County, does anybody have any kind of agricultural department where it could ultimately become kind of like a working lab for the students to go forward and try different things? Because like you said, the climate, we know what's going on in the Redlands. We
That's
know
not
how they're trying to, yeah. So are there,
FIU has one of the best. Yeah. In
That makes
in
sense.
the in the immediate area, it's FIU's program, which is outstanding.
so where's FIU? How come why wasn't the dirt given FIU? I say rhetorically, that could have been a perfect location. They could have got everything going, get people excited about the agriculture going back in, not necessarily using Instacart all the time and learning where your food comes from. I don't understand the disconnect, but maybe maybe I'm not very smart.
No, well, nor do I.
Hey, Peter, buy, sell, hold on the best covered land play comes with crops.
Ooh, I'm going to have to be a sell on that. And this is not a sell on Professor Dunn. Nothing to do with you, Professor. But what makes money in South Florida? It's booze, booze, booze. There was something called Wynwood Yards. They got approval for some to sell booze. They brought in some food trucks, which I used to call roach coaches.
They could
They
grow
put up a stage.
moonshine. They can make moonshine. You can turn it into a distillery. It doesn't have to be tomatoes and corn.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, but can you still do that? I know they were doing that in Wynwood or no, but I
Well, they
think
got
I
they
think
got the breweries.
agriculture would make sense, but when you can sell booze in this town, I mean, Wynwood Yard was a perfect example. They made a ton of cash because Shakira and others went and performed there, and ultimately until they were able to sell it off. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe the Trump Library people let us or let you, Professor, turn it into agriculture in the meantime, because chances are they're not building anytime soon, given market conditions.
For me, the best possible use would be as an urban farm. That's the question.
Peter, I'm with Doc on this one. I think you're full of it. I hate your ideas, all of them.
Not the
Can you be
first
a bit
time.
more gentle in saying so?
No, I gotta put my foot down with Peter. Otherwise, he'll come and get me one day. All right. Hey, well, since we're in Overtown, and it's our last topic of the day. Can you believe it's almost been an hour already? We're just having so much fun. I
Wow.
want to talk about. I want to talk about something that they put the name the Underdeck. Officially, the Reverend Edward T. Graham Greenway. And if you don't know what a greenway is, go to Boston where they did the big dig and they took that overpass and they made it a tunnel, and that's like a big linear park. Linear parks are big. Everybody likes a linear park. The Underline is effectively a linear park. The High Line in Manhattan is effectively a linear park. So this is a planned 33-acre linear park that was going to sit or proposed, still planned, by the way. We don't have the money to do it, but it was supposed to go under I-395 as part of that giant $866 million signature bridge project. And the whole point was to reconnect Overtown, which was physically and economically gutted when they built the interstate, through this black neighborhood in the 60s. And they were going to put dog parks and an amphitheater and a nice little trail going all the way to Museum Park and to the bay. And this was going to cost, they had earmarked $82 million, and $60 million of that was going to come from an initiative called Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods put in by the Biden administration. It was, by the way, we're number one, largest federal grant in Miami history. That's what that was. And then we were going to pay for the remainder through us and the FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation. Sounds great, except last August, the U.S. Department of Transportation notified the city of Miami that the $60 million that had been earmarked, DEI initiative, ciao, see you later, the one big beautiful bill, killed it. And since they hadn't started the project, those were considered unobligated funds. Had they started the project, then the money would have effectively already been spent. But since the stupid bridge, and I'm going to call it that because it's a stupid bridge, that was supposed to be finished
No,
in
the
2021. Oh,
signature bridge.
Smithsonian. I was so close. So even though this bridge was supposed to be done, it's an overland bridge. It doesn't go over water. It's an overland bridge. There's already an overpass there. It was supposed to be finished in 2021, 2024, now 2029. I don't even know how much this thing is going to eventually cost. But this was the undercarriage, as Peter so gleefully said earlier to me. But this underdeck, as they call it, was supposed to be this beautiful park, and now it is no longer. I'm bringing it up on the map so everybody can see, but that's what all of this dirt here that's going to be dirt for the next, several years apparently, but this whole thing from 95 all the way to the bay planned to be a park. And I can't understand why. I mean, I know why, because they say DEI, but Doc, I want to ask you, and this is something that Peter and I, discuss and we ramble about, but since you're on the ground over there, if this is so important to the city of Miami, is it possible that they can still find the money for it? I mean, $60 million is a big funding gap.
No. One reason for that is that the amount of political potency in the black community in Overtown is so diminished that there's no political pressure that the
What about
Overtown
Christine
community can
King?
bring. I know we have a commissioner sitting on the city who's black on the city commission, but I think that her relative power is very, very small. We just don't have the people in Overtown now living there who had the intent, involvement, the history of being involved in that community. They've gone or they've died. They moved away. Uh, so even though we have Christine King on the commission, the very makeup of the Overtown community is no longer black. Most of the people living in Overtown now are Hispanic and white. So you don't have the political will to try to fight to save the history and culture of that community because the folks to whom that mattered have left for the most
But
part. So
even
this
so,
we took
Hispanic and whites love parks. So it's not a black white Hispanic thing. It's a, do you want this to turn into parking?
well, no, I don't.
No, not
But
you, but
but
I was speaking to the ether.
okay, yeah. But using DEI as a reason to not do it, I still don't get that.
I
What's the
don't.
DEI problem?
Well,
What have they
I
injected
mean,
into the argument?
to put bluntly, I think it's a racist thing. I think that because it disenfranchised the interstate program, disenfranchised a predominantly black community because that's what Overtown was, and they earmarked this park as a black project, and that's why they pulled the money away. If this would have been going through, you think the shoreline going to Key Biscayne? You think that's going to happen? I bet you it does. I bet you they don't earmark that as a DEI initiative.
Well, then they need to rename it because Overtown is not a black community anymore. I'm serious about that. They should just take the black out of it. Just say Overtown. Overtown has lost its blackness. There are a few buildings left, and that's it. A few churches left, and they're dying. So if that's the problem, then just rename it and
Well, they
recognize
do.
it's not going to
They
be.
rename everything around here. I mean, we're going wellness now, right, Peter?
Yeah, everything is wellness now, doctor. Everybody's talking about wellness. They were talking about crypto bros a couple years back. Now we're talking about wellness. Who knows? Maybe we're going to talk about urban gardens and urban farms in the future, hopefully. Fingers
That
sort
would
of
be
crossed.
healthy.
Yeah.
Doctor, I want to ask you somebody. I've been here 30 years and I see change. This isn't my hometown, but I consider it my hometown because I pretty much as an adult, I've been here. Um, how do you embrace, how do you deal with some of these dramatic changes that we're seeing, especially since 2021, when you didn't have to wear a mask, you could work from home, and Miami Beach allowed you to twerk on a police car on Ocean Drive. The changes have been dramatic. How do you sort of deal with it? You just made a real powerful statement. The fact that Overtown is, it's sort of, it's changed dramatically. Now it's white, it's Hispanic. It's not what it used to be from when Henry Flagler, and correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, Henry Flagler, when he came down, they set up the deeds and they set up the plats and everything where African American community was on one side, you had the white community on the other side, all that type of stuff. But how do you embrace, how do you deal, how do you adjust to the dramatic change, which is the Magic City? Every 10 years, there's a new hustle, there's a new angle, and the stuff we get comfortable with, it's gone. Like the Denny's on 36th Street in Biscayne, gone.
The Taco Bell stand though.
Right. I do that by staying around young people. I spend a lot of time around kids, college kids. I spend a lot of time around young folks with hope, with open minds who want to learn and who are learning to love their city. So I'm telling you, we have thousands of young kids who come to that farm or who I take on these tours around Florida with the work that I do. And you cannot help but be hopeful when you're around these high school kids and college kids. There's not the cynicism. There's not the history of pain and suffering and all that. They're open-minded. So yeah, we can't change the demographic future of Miami. As I tell when I go to a black school and talk, I tell them, yeah, we are a Hispanic community. Stop citing it. Learn to speak Spanish. Uh, but it's just important to me to recognize that young people seem not to have the kind of hang-ups that we older people do about the past and the present. So my hope comes from spending a lot of time. My dad taught me that. When he retired in Sanford, Florida, had a choice of building his house, buying a house in a senior citizen community that's very nice and quiet, or in a community of young people, with a lot of kids. He chose to buy a house where there were kids living next door to keep the sound of young people alive in his life. And that's important to me too. Stay around kids, you feel better.
You heard it here first, Peter. We got to stay around kids. Not like that. Um, Hey, this has been great, Doc. I just gotta thank you, but I'm thanking you preemptively because we're not done yet, and that's a trademark by Dr. Marvin Dunn over here. I love that sign off. Never let that go. That's freaking fantastic. So I think I mistitled this, right? So the underdeck defunding classic Miami FU, and it's not Miami who did this, right? And I need to be very clear with this. I do think that the community wants this. It's not that Christine King doesn't want it. I'm sure she does, but $60 million is quite a big funding gap. I don't know what can be done. That's not my job, but all we can do is educate and put that out there that this is important. Look at these renderings. I mean, I know we make beautiful renderings around town, but guys, if they don't
That's my
build this is going to be concrete,
that's
right?
my garden you're looking at. It looks just that's my Overtown Farm you just said. That's what that we have that already. It
So
need
they
much
want to
more.
they want to take that all the way from your urban garden, all the way from your urban farm, all the way to the bay, and I think the argument to be made is, guys, this isn't an Overtown thing because guess what? The park. My 1000 Museum is not in Overtown. That's in downtown. This goes all the way from Overtown. Yes, it starts in Overtown, but it ends at the bay where you got 10, 20, $30 million condos. This affects the whole swath of the central business district. And it is
Right.
so important. And to flag it as a DEI initiative is just grasping at straws.
Yeah.
So I
I
want
totally
to buy
agree.
I want to buy, sell, hold on the underdex defunding a classic Miami FU. I'm selling on that statement because it's not a Miami thing. Miami's going to pay for the other 20 million. They just need help. That's my soapbox. Peter?
Listen, you know who else benefits from the under deck? I was going to say undercarriage again. The under deck. You know who's going to benefit from it? Gentleman called Mark Roberts, a guy called Michael Simpkins. They're putting up 1,000 units named after
They got
their
their they got that thing on sale for
cabaret.
500 million bucks. Don't call her a strip club.
Their cabaret, don't call it a strip joint, 11. They got 2 condo towers named after that. They're going north of 1,000 a foot. They got plenty of petty cash sitting around. Mr. Roberts, Mr. Simpkins, dig into that pot of gold, the petty cash you got sitting on the
Oh, I
side,
see what you're
and
doing. So you're talking about a developer
donate it.
contribution.
Donate it. Yes, they raised it. I drove through there recently. I was in a car going through there recently. It is spectacular. The fact that they were able to elevate it so much. Now it's got a real cool vibe. It's fun. So why can't the boys at 11? Come on, boys. Mr. Simpkin, Mr. Roberts, you guys are all excited about how successful your 11 is and everything else you're doing. Pull out some cash like Mr. Billions, Ken Griffin
Wow.
did over on the Coconut Grove area. Why aren't these guys contributing back to society? What are they doing with their cash? How many more condo buildings are you going to build? The market's going to hell. Maybe they're conserving their money because they're not necessarily sure how it's going to play out. But I
No,
think
they're
they're
on
the
the
ones that
cell
need to step
block.
up. Well, and there you go. Well, tell me it's not going to help them sell their dirt if, in fact, they were to go forward and help to improve this thing. Let the
Well, then
community
they
take
wouldn't
over.
sell the
If the
dirt.
feds but if the feds are dropping us, there's plenty of money down here. We all went through this great boom. The trees grow to the moon, 1,000 people a day, Gateway to Latin America, all the Chamber of Commerce stuff. Pull out some of that cash, boys, and start making it rain. And turn the overtown, overdeck, or underdeck, or undercarriage, whatever the hell it's called. Turn it into something.
which would
Buy,
which would help over time and the
I
entire community. It would be very, very much helpful to the community.
absolutely look at all these little old ladies and little old men, and some of them are young. They're not all old in West Coconut Grove who have been sitting on their properties since the 60s, 70s. Shit, if you bought 20 years ago in West Grove, you're making gobs of money. Overtown could have that. Overtown could have multi-million dollar single family home properties because developers will want to go in, but this needs to happen, right? Because Overtown doesn't have the front water views like the proposed Trump library would have. It has to have something around it. And there's been a lot of great initiatives in Overtown. Like we're really close to the Lotus House folks, and they're trying, but there needs to be more. Um, Dr. Dunn, buy, sell, hold on the underdex defunding a classic Miami FU.
Yes.
It is a classic Miami FU. You heard it here from the professor, and he is a professor, guys. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Peter?
Oh yeah, I mean, listen. I got to follow the professor. And professor, I got to ask you: is it emeritus or emeritus? Right, Professor Emeritus?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Do you,
Yes.
you get any extra discounts like when you go to a restaurant? They
Always
give you
with the
anything extra if you're
discounts.
emeritus rather than a regular professor?
Peter's going to go
I
try
just
to
get
get
to use the
tenure at
library.
FIU.
Yeah, I
I
like
just I
that.
just get to use the library.
Ah, okay, that's it.
But that's it. But yesterday I went up to the FIU police department to tell them I don't feel safe on that campus with all the mess
Really?
going on out there with the yeah. So FIU is different from when I was out there. It's not a very comfortable place these days, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah,
More comfortable than
yeah.
MDC?
They've had a oh my. I don't think Miami Dade College has this sort of stuff going on. But at FIU, there's a group that has a racist chat that got discovered, and it's just all pandemonium out there right now. Black students are scared to death, and I go out there for my own purposes, and I'm not safe. I don't feel safe on that campus.
Well, we got to have you back on the show to talk about that. But, Doc, thank
Sure,
you, thank you, thank you so much for joining us
you're
on this
welcome.
Friday afternoon. I've learned so much. I know Peter did too. He's even going to admit it, and he's a hard-headed guy. Um,
It's the Slavic roots in me. I don't. I'm stubborn. Very impressive, Doctor.
No,
Very impressive. Keep up the
I've
good
enjoyed
fight.
it. I've enjoyed it as well. Um, in fact, I'll think about it as I'm having my Jack Daniels in another few minutes.
Oh, good man. He's a Jack Daniels man, Peter. I
Five
knew.
o'clock, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It is. It is.
I'm
Well,
a
let it.
Southern guy. Yeah, 5 o'clock is a Jack Daniel.
We won't keep you, Doc. Well, everybody, that's Dr. Professor Emeritus at FIU, Marvin Dunn. Keep an eye out for him because he is not done yet. That's Buy, Sell, Hold, episode number 49. We'll see you guys next week, as we will every Friday at 4 p.m. for Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. Thanks, everybody.